Good day and welcome to the very first Backstage Pass podcast. Now, this is something that I wanted to start last year already, but you know how it goes when you do these things. You start worrying about what does the YouTube channel look like and what does thumbnails look like, and you ultimately end up not really doing anything. So we decided this year, you know what, we're just going to jump in, we're going to start recording. So welcome to the first imperfect podcast session. And I hope it's fun and enjoyable. But the main reason we're doing this, the main purpose of this podcast is to share the stories of the people who work in our industry, the people who make this industry so great. Because there's a lot of new kids coming in with some expectations. Expectations like making 150K per month after their first 3 months. Or they think they're going to wake up one morning with a surprise announcement that they are the new CEO without any liability, a share option, and a work from home policy. And unfortunately, that is not how this industry works. It's hard work, it is trauma, it is mistakes, and often quite a lot of humiliation. And that is what the show is about, for us to share these moments so that we can learn from each other, nurture some resilience, nurture some dedication and commitment, and hopefully not die like the plants in our living rooms, but to have fulfilling lives, laugh about our careers, and hopefully have some fun. I guess that is what it's all about. And our first guest today really doesn't require any sort of intro because his entire career is defined by a single power incident that he remembers, but no one else, which is quite strange. And the thing is, whenever you have these cringy moments in your life, you should stop and think of someone else and think of the cringe that they have gone shown to the world. And you will realize very quickly that you can't remember any of these cringy moments with other people because you are the only cringy person around. And today's guest is the cringy Fanie Pieterse, known by me as Fanie. And if I have to sum up Fanie in one single sentence, it would be he has a built-in pizza home oven at home and is quite insane. But Fanie, welcome to the first Backstage Pass podcast episode. So tell people, Fanie, what the hell it is that you actually do. How do you make money to afford your pizza oven addiction at home?
I want to actually start with just a small correction. I wish I was the only person that knows my secret nickname because it had made the rounds, unfortunately. We were all ignorant and green at one point, and this one unfortunately stuck with me a little bit. I have the honor of serving as Operating Officer at Multimedia, handling the day to day of the business and freeing you up to go do weird and wonderful things and grow our business and make people more aware and just better the industry one day at a time, Mr. Duplessis.
So you work at multimedia, and I've never seen you in my entire life. How the hell is that
Yeah,
even
well, you keep me in the basement.
So, Fani, I sent you this little document that you had to fill out for me, just so that we can have at least some sort of framework that we're dealing with today. And I asked you, what is one word that defines your career so far? And when I read it, I read flavor. And I was like, what the hell is it with this guy and food and flavor?
Dyslexia.
Like, is it sealing in the flavor when you're in Nelspruit in the heat of the summer months? And then I realized, oh no, what, I'm being the moron. It's actually favor. And it's such a beautiful word to sum up your entire career within this industry. So I want to know from you, share a little bit. How did you end up in this industry? How did you get started?
So, when it comes to favor, some will call it luck, um, some will call it favor. It's a combination of both, really. Um, Culmination of storms and just being resilient enough not to take no for an answer. Actually, I started in this industry like quite young. I fell in love with it at about like 14 or 15. My best friend's cousin was the head of the audio department at our school. We all kind of hung out together. So I joined the sound team. Uh, Weekends was a little bit weird. So like early mornings, go to the rugby field and go set up the flipping speakers on the field, then go warm up, play rugby, and then stay for the strike. So it kind of like shaped that expectation for the rest of my life a little
Yeah.
bit at least. Um, then I was a musician back in the day, like played in a couple of bands and so forth. And then I started dabbling in the recording side of it. Eventually going to study after a little falling in love session at a local um, festival in our town called the Kiri Klapper. You have to say that very carefully because, like, I can um a festival, and Stefan Krier, like, Stefan quite well. He owns a company called Freelance Productions. I helped them out, got in contact with him through his dad, who was my IT teacher, actually. Spent a couple of days with him, learned the ropes, from obviously bootstrapping, being pretty much like the lackey on site. Thinking I was going to get paid for the week, never got a cent. Thank you, Stefan. Um, yeah, and then I kind of realized that like this could actually be a career. I saw guys working and like earning a living and having fun, um, and then went to go study audio at Dublin. And then through a family friend, I heard about Mark Gaylord. Um, no idea who he was, the company that he owned, anything. I just knew that, like, he was my way in. So I phoned him up first time, and like obviously, like, who's this kid phoning me? And I didn't stop phoning him for probably about like 6 months. I phoned him like once a week, just like harassing him for a job. And then I don't know, it's like eventually he gave in, and the rest is history. Like it started with truck offloading and then culminated in this like almost 2 decades career so far in the industry. Yeah.
It's funny how many of us actually found our way into the industry with Stefan Krier and the team. Um, like I also got into the industry with them, Stefan, Rian, Ruan, Bram, Fred
Yeah.
at one point. And like we had this thing when we joined, like it's such a small team and you work the craziest hours and the craziest like amount of days back to back. And we had this thing like 3 o'clock in the morning, like after like days of just working and working and working. The young kids, like the 20 odd year old kids would like complain like just before sunrise you hate life and you're like, you know what, I'm done with this industry, I'm resigning, I'm resigning, and everyone would stand there and they would resign and they hate everything, and you have this doubt that
And the next day they're back.
back, and then people go home for like a few hours, and then 7 o'clock they're back. Like, okay, cool, we're doing this another time. And I remember the one morning we were complaining so much, and Stefan, like, he just lost it, and he said, "Okay, cool. Like, I'm done with this now. We're gonna leave here. We're gonna go and braai." And then we're all gonna get sloshed, and we're just gonna beat the hell out of each other so that we can just get rid of this negative energy. Um,
Wow.
yeah, that never happened. Like usually, like people just finish their 3 o'clock the morning cigarette, and we'd all convoy down to BP. What was it called? Wild Bean Cafe. And Wild Bean
Uh-huh. Get a
Cafe.
pie.
And then if you're lucky, if you're lucky, you could still find like one of those cheese griller hot dogs, and that cheese griller has been like turning away for like 48 hours, just lying there dry and gross. And you're like, oh, this is the best thing ever. And if there's no hot dog, you'd buy a pie and you'd have heartburn and you hate your life. And then you go to bed, you sleep for an hour or two, shower, and you're back at work. And you just continue and you're like, well, this is normal. But it is not normal at all. And
No.
you must have had one of these moments where you walk in to work and you're like, this is not a normal job. This is not a 8 to 5 thing.
Yeah, 100%. Um, And the funny thing is, like, we most of the guys start quite young, so you're so ignorant towards, what work for the gen pop really is, and you just kind of accept that that's a fact.
Mm.
I want to just touch on, like, now that you say, like, the whole complaining thing, and it's funny how guys get shaped. Gert Watson, I mean, he's a legend in the industry right now, like a young guy doing incredible things. He was like 16 years old, just also hounding me the same way I hounded Mark for a job. So eventually I gave in, brought him to site. Um, Strike ran until like 7 o'clock the next morning. Literally found him outside Gallagher on the stoopy, waiting for his mom, crying. Just done. Next day he was back. And it's crazy how the industry just like swallows you, and it's like it's a place for passion. And we'll, I've got a theory around it which I'll share with you later. But touching on the question about like that moment you realized, I think it was after I landed the job with Mark in the beginning, completely ignorant, not knowing jack from a hole in the ground. Um, Pitched up at the warehouse early morning in my suit pants. I still remember the shirt, green and white striped shirt, highlighted hair, which was cool back then, and l- all the techies standing there in their black shorts, looking at this like little idiot who just arrived. And I was chucked in the back of a truck, and they thought it was hilarious. And like I did not know what was happening. All I knew was like people are shouting at me and making fun of me, and um, yeah, it's like offloaded the truck, and it's like one of the roughest bunch of people I've ever met in my life, and I loved it. And I think that was a reality check when I realized that um, I walked into the warehouse, and Dion, it's like he lives in the States now. That song "I Don't Like Mondays," he literally like ran down the stairs with his arms out, like in a crucifix, going, "I don't like Jesus." And I was like, I'm a Christian boy. I'm like, oh, what am I getting myself into? And they became your best friends, like absolutely just like family over the years. So yeah, I mean, definitely not a normal job, I suppose.
Different times, man, different times.
Yeah,
And
100%.
it's funny, like I think all of us that started out like 10, 15, 20 years ago. I know it was a lot more chaotic even further back, like 30 years ago. Um, but you go through these moments of humiliation and you kind of realize that it's like this rite of passage that you go through, and the people actually
Mm,
care deeply about you. They want you to win, even though it's not the
yeah.
most fun thing. And sometimes you get called aside and you get ripped apart, and it feels like a personal attack sometimes. And other times you're like, wow, this is actually some wisdom. And I know we all have this first reality check that happens where that first time someone
Mhm.
calls you aside. Share a little bit about your first moment where someone said, oi, focus.
Like, I think that like most people would imagine that like the worst part of the industry is like the late nights and the early mornings and the loadouts and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think that, yes, you learn from that, but I don't think that like anyone will really say that, because like that's part of the, comes part and parcel with what you do. For me, I was like, I think 24 years old or something like that, and got this like incredible opportunity to mix monitors and Afrikaans squid for the first time. Came in completely green. I think I've only mixed like one monitor like job my entire life before. And you go in scared, and heart palpitations, and enough coffee to like, I don't know, kill a band of oxen. But I think that moment when it went a little bit pear-shaped, and like artists weren't happy with my work, and I could see the producers of the event like losing faith and all that kind of stuff. Dude, I learned so much. Humility, working under pressure, like, it's anyone who's been in that situation before where you're like everything you want to achieve in life is kind of like there and it's flashing before your eyes, and then you need to make a decision, like, what are you actually going to learn from this, or are you just going to give up? And I think like for me, I want to reframe it a little bit. Like, yes, it was probably the worst day in my entire life, that event, but it changed every like aspect of how I approach my work from there on out. I never wanted to be that unprepared before, like again, my entire life. I learned the value of understanding the problems that you are walking into and preparing for it, and just the value of being prepared, the value of, as a technician, being able to create calm in those situations. Like I had to kind of like calm myself, but I made it a mission in my career that like I will be the calm where I'm working.
Mm.
And it's like, it's been something that I've been carrying with me, my entire career really since then. It's like just being able to be prepared, understanding the problems, and bringing a sense of calm from that. Yeah. I think that's pretty much like that moment taught me more than what it actually scarred me, I think.
I think that there's this tipping point in one's career in this industry where it just happens, where you're able to deal with certain things and you're able to make decisions. And unfortunately, it's not always there for people in the beginning. Like I remember my one of my most traumatic experiences ever in this industry. I was still doing lighting, and we had a international launch of a product. So it was being launched in a different country first. Everyone was dialing into the reveal in the other country, and here in SA, we had a area closed off with a kabuki cloth with the entire lighting rig and this product that I had to light up in this moment of this reveal. And we had this kabuki cloth and we tested the hell out of this kabuki cloth. And the event starts and the countdown starts, and I'm ready to drop this thing. And as the moment hits, like it's this international launch globally, everyone sees the device at the same time. I press the button and the cloth doesn't drop. It's just freaking hanging there. And I
How
can
it works.
everyone can hear the music on the other side of this thing. And the audience is sitting there like, is there a party next door? What the hell is going like the light bleeding through the kabuki cloth. And in that moment, myself, as well as the client, we just sat down on the ground, like totally, totally defeated. No action plan to fix the problem. And
Yeah.
some of the team members ran and they ripped off the kabuki cloth, but I was just like so destroyed that my mind just switched off. Like you went through all this effort, programming, rehearsals, and everything, and then ultimately it falls apart. And we all have these stories of things going wrong, and you carry that
Yeah.
and trauma with you for the rest of your life. Share a little bit about something that has gone wrong in your career where you had to make a call, and hopefully you made the right call to make things a little better.
It's funny that you mentioned the trauma because I think every technician has had that dream where you're on a show and everything goes wrong and it's like, you're unprepared and you wake up in sweats and you're like, oh, it's just a dream, it's fine. And then the next day it actually happens. No, joking. um, I think one thing that comes to mind is like a few years ago we did this like um week-long event, international thing in Rosebank. And we did built this like incredible like tunnel structure with like at that point I don't think we've really seen something like that in the industry. We were kind of like pushing it out there a little bit. Um, this entire rig supported a massive lighting rig as well, so it was like um, quite a wild structure, and then with a marquee tent over that. It was one of those Joburg storms came up, and how the thing was built was the marquee was probably, I don't know, maybe like 200 mils above it, but obviously there's play in those marquee tents. So storm came, starts pushing on destruction. You can actually see how even though everything was perfectly, was signed off, all that kind of fun stuff, but the structure started to buckle slightly. It started to push down, and there was like maybe 200, 300 people in the venue.
Wow.
Um, like just underneath it, like multiple ribs of truss with lighting and stuff. And a call had to be made. I was also, it was like very early in my career, maybe like also like 23, 24 years old, around about there. And went to the owner of the event, renowned person in that specific industry, like world famous. And I had to tell this person that we have to stop the event this is not safe. Like, your entire brand can be tarnished forever. Like, imagine, your brand's associated to multiple people injured and even worse, possibly. And instead of handling like a rational person, obviously there's a lot riding on this with the client. The client absolutely lost it on me, slapped me through the face and started shouting and screaming at me like, how can a little green young guy
No
barely barely being able to grow flippin' fluff on his face tell me that I need to stop this international event, and then also possibly for the rest of the week, just how severe the damage was. And luckily, we had the structural engineer there on call, got him out, and it was like I made the right call. But again, adaptability. Instead of calling it off, the got the structural engineer in and assessed the damage, worked through the night. Got everything safe again, and the event went on. And it turned out it was one of the most successful ones. So the coverage of that event, well, you can still find it online. Like, I'm not gonna divulge, but like you can find what that event online still, and it would look great. So yes, there's a sense of intuition, I think, that you start gaining quite early in your career if you pay attention to the greater scope of the event, not just your area of expertise. And I'm really glad that like I stuck with my guns, because I'm 100% guaranteed that was the right call. But it was tough, standing up and having the courage to stand up to that level of persona, and
Yeah. It's funny, like you get this opportunity that sets you up for the rest of your career. Um,
mm,
some courage, and you're like, I have to make the right choice. And I'm like having flashbacks. We did this thing in Joburg CBD where we had to light up the streets in Joburg, and multiple companies working together to do these things. And as we set up, it was about a 2 kilometer session. As we would set up lights, people would come in from the back and start stealing everything that we're setting up. And like you'd plug in a light and everything would like start shifting to the side, and you're like, how?
we're losing DMX.
Dragging the stuff down the street, and like the fear in everyone's faces, because like mistakes were made, and this was not a good choice to do this kind of events. And what of those mistakes do you have that's top of mind that you still cringe about to this day? Something that hangs around, Fanie, something that is so insane it becomes a nickname.
I just want to add on that story. I think everyone has a CBD or Braamfontein story. There was this big marathon back in the day, and there was like little activation points, and we spread thin and all that kind of stuff. So you alone with a veto, little station music playing and everything, like year roundabout. There was like Run Joburg thing that happened like 2013, 2015, right about there. And I remember that like I was stationed right. This is now not attached to the cringy part, but like this is such a cool story. Also one of those like where you realize what you got yourself into. And it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm sitting there alone, busy with my little VRX monopole, busy striking, and alone in CBD. It's like two guys pop up, and obviously they want what you got. Literally had to fight guys off with like one of those like wind up speaker poles. Got like bashed in the face as well. Like it's okay. I just want to state that like it's not normal to get slapped as many times as I have in the industry, but it does happen, and you gotta fight for what you got.
You're giving me flashbacks here. Like when people share their trauma, like everything starts flooding in. I used to do lighting for PJ Powers, and we did a show in Vilakazi Street as well. And like
Wow.
2 o'clock in the morning, we're loading out, and it's just me and another guy. And suddenly, like, there's all these little kids running around, and the security guards comes, like he's running and he's just like slapping these children, and I'm like, bro, like, dude, dude, like it's Vilakazi Street, like behave yourself, like
Wow.
this place. history. Like, look after the kid. And as I turn around, like there's this kid standing at the trailer, busy stealing the stuff, and the security's like, "Welcome to Malaka's history, dude. You can't leave anything alone. It's gonna be stolen."
If we could script the story, so I think it'll be a pretty good movie. I reckon that you touched on the little nickname that I've earned myself. And it was earned. I think that with that level of stupidity, you earn it. We did this fashion event. With I did it with Modit still from Dream Sets back in the day. Also, a nice big structure in the I think they call it the Diamond Court now at Santon City. Front of house is on the top level, entire structure, everyone doing their catwalk thing at the bottom. Because it's a public area, everything had to be like on in-ears, like all rehearsals, live bands, kind of like accompanying all of the models and designers. And Booty over here decides that all my amps go in one place. 12 HD 12,000s plugged on two plug strips, just linking from each other. And it sounded great in my ears. The moment the event started, first kick drum, dude, everything is off. This was also a live broadcast. Stick Maurits's eyes this big, entire rig down. And because we're on the top level, like I sprint down the escalator, and I think I might have touched the stairs 3 times. Tried to reroute power as quick as I possibly could, because like in that moment, like you just have enough experience to realize kind of like what happened. Ran back up, show happened, but it's been probably like 13 or 14 years later, and I still have the nickname Plugstrip Pieterse. I had people literally print that name and plug it, like stick it down on all of my stationery ones and stuff like that.
It's
I
funny
wear,
how
I wear the badge with honor. It's okay.
we have these nicknames that stick. I'm blessed with my nickname. Mine comes from festivals. I was part of the Hit Squad, and the previous years of team members who ran with Hit Squad were like well-renowned people.
Mm.
Jaco Conradi, like so much respect for Jaco Conradi. Rian Rademan was also part of the Hit Squad at one point. Just jumping in and doing what you can do. And then I got asked, like, do you want to do Hit Squad? And I was like, bro, I can't compete against these people. Like, Jaco is like this insane carpenter, and Rian can fix anything. And I'm like, you boy, like,
What can I do?
I was
I can
like,
diss people quite well.
and I was like, I needed a nickname to set myself apart from these people. So I said to the festival staff, no, I was on radio, and they called me, and I said, so with Hit Squad, it's you and then a bunch of crew guys. And I radioed back, and I'm like, yes, this is Enrico the Apache with the Yafels. And it
Yothels.
and for multiple festivals after that, it was Enrico the Apache with the Yafels. And I was like, thank the Lord I have a cool nickname and not something that is extremely like cringe. We all go through these negative moments where we make mistakes and kabuki cloths don't drop and we get slack for structures. What do these moments actually like end up teaching us? Like, what did you learn from these moments?
Um, I think the value of being prepared. Um, I think that like you have to be relatively agile in our industry. Like stuff happens and changes happen and stuff like that. So the value of being prepared, and also just no matter how big a hotshot you think you are, you could be humbled pretty quickly. So I think that like that you have to carry humility with you, regardless, how what your stance is in the industry, or at least what you think your stance is in the industry. And I think that the people who are really in your corner will give you that grace to learn and grow. And like I really, really want the team that I lead, and the team that the leaders in our company lead, understand that people will make mistakes. but that's how they learn. And the people who have made the mistakes need to equip the people who are still going to make the mistakes in a way that, the consequences of the mistakes that they are going to make won't have the impact that, will cause them to have a flippant nickname for their entire career. And I think that, like, you can never really be on top of your game. There's always going to be a time in your life where you are going to the next level. And how you get there is up to some, as I said, some call it favor, some call it luck, but a lot is up to you. What you're
Mm,
willing to put in and the exposure that you're willing to put yourself, under, whether you have the experience or not, and then have
mm.
grace with yourself to make mistakes, you know?
The I think it's very easy sometimes for people to say like, okay, cool, sweet, I have to give it my all and I have to work extremely hard. But you have to also, in a sense of luck, also be surrounded by the right people. Like I've been blessed on my journey, like as mentioned, with Stefan Creer giving me an opportunity to first join into the industry. I then spent a lot of years with a guy called Johnny Heineman. He used to be the previous CEO of multimedia. And all these people create this opportunity for you to become the best that you can be and
Mm,
hopefully become a decent leader. So you have to work hard, you have to have dedication, but you also need to find the right people that will allow you to become the best that you can, and that you can hopefully also become a leader within the industry and become the best grown up ultimately. We
mm,
all like we're all still like so young at heart in this industry and we all want to have fun and we all want to have a good time, but at some point you kind of have to put on your grown-up shoes, behave in a decent way and lead people. So
mm,
how did all of these things change the way that you lead people, or how you plan your day like to ensure that everyone has the best um environment that they can be in?
mm. Look, I think that for me personally, like, I feel deeply grateful for the opportunities that I got at a young age. I think that sometimes at unreasonably young age, I got like really good opportunities. Um, so I want to afford the team that we lead the same kind of opportunities. Kind of like have guardrails in place so that they can experiment and fail, but fail
Mm,
forward and still create an environment where people can be the best they can be and also do the right thing, not because they're scared of the consequences, but actually do the right thing because it's the right thing to do.
yeah.
Um, and I think like when it comes to like the planning side of it, is just like the ability to have foresight for what could possibly go wrong and not want to be like, if you've ever been in that situation where like you've got zero control about the outcome anymore because it's failed so hard, like you will not ever want to be
Mm,
in that place. And then I think that something that you and I speak about quite often is that how the chase for perfection hampers progress. I think that one thing that like young people will probably learn in the industry is like, yes, you have to strive for perfection, but most of the time there's not enough room for perfection just
mm,
because progress needs to be made. So understanding where that threshold is of like, this is actually, at the right level for us to go forward, without, tarnishing a brand, without compromising a client's event, without compromising your own reputation in the industry. Learning those little, almost want to say like, actually like grinds me but to say, but like learning where those like acceptable compromises are.
yeah.
um yeah, and I think that's a big thing, is like that can only really come with experience and making the mistakes.
Mm,
Like Adrian van der Walt, I was very lucky to serve like 2 years when he started freelancing. I served like 2 years as his lackey. Every single event that he went on, that he was booked on, I was with him. And Adrian had this saying, he said, experience is what you get after you need it the most. And man, that stuck with me for like
wow.
so many years already. Like he's a wise old man that looks younger than us.
Vampire is a freaking
I won't say the joke we normally make.
vampire. So, with getting experience and hoping that ultimately you're in a position where you have the right skill set, toolkits to look after people, what is the hardest part of leading in the industry that no one warns you about?
Mm. Um, Look, we work in quite a thankless environment. From how companies treat technicians often, and how clients see technicians and so forth. Like it's a service-based industry which can often be seen as interchangeable, if I can put it that way. Like there's not a lot of value placed on the skill that the guys put in. And it's not like accolades and acknowledgements is what the guys are striving for. The guys in the industry, 99% of them are deeply passionate about what they do. Like they find the industry something that they cannot live without in a way. And I think that that's something that is quite hard, is seeing the thanklessness. And so I've been lucky enough over the past couple of years. I picked up studies quite late in my life. So I completed my formal studies, and I am starting with my doctorate in business management in April. And my
You look
my
so
so
defeated, like in an instant, like, oh god, I have to.
I know what's coming, dude. It's gonna be a long 6 years, but I know it's coming. But like also, as much as I want to do it for myself, I know that let me frame it this way. My research topic is around how do you formalize and like strengthen our industry to a point where the government sees us formally, and like COVID exposed a lot of this. When everything fell flat, there were no formal aid for our industry because like it couldn't be classified like within the
Yeah.
normal framework of what government sees. So I want to see the industry and the young people and technicians and the guys who like bend over backwards for that like little moment of magic with clients, that's what they pay for. I want to see them be supported. I want to see them be getting the just acknowledgement and the support that they need. And that's like something that like sits really close to my heart. And that's pretty much the only reason why I pursued the doctorate, really.
Like you triggered a thought now, like I'm blessed to have to be well traveled. Like I've been to various different countries, been to various different international events, and when you stand there you quickly realize how insane the South African tech industry is. The
Yeah.
quality, the pacing, the care, the willingness to go and
The
above and beyond,
resilience.
resilience, which you don't see in these other countries. And it's like a main driver as to why our employee pool is shrinking, because Australia has realized this. Like South Africa sits on some of the best talent, the UAE,
Mm.
Saudi, like they know how great these guys are. And now we're in this industry where you have intense experts in their fields. Like we had an event 2 years ago during rehearsals. One of the executives of a corporate company walked onto stage and he said, I can't remember the exact remark, what he was talking about, but he said to the technicians, none of you will understand this because you all work with your hands. And I was so deeply insulted with that comment. And people don't realize that these guys are not idiots. There's some of the guys that is the best in the world, like Andre Skuman here at Multimedia, one of the best in the world. You have Andrei Siebrits, well, clearly with all the Andres, one of the
There's
best.
a pattern.
Um, it's guys that are so good, but they don't get the respect because the industry is just seen as this "Ugh," kind of
Yeah. I
thing.
mean,
Kind of breaks my heart.
Vernon Limburg has mastered RF to a level where Shure came through. Um, to actually see what he does, because on
Mm.
paper it doesn't make sense the what he's actually driving out of the equipment. These guys are like mad geniuses. Like honestly, like it's a shame that the light that the industry is painted in. Like I always fill out forms for whatever banking, whatever it is, and they ask you your occupation. Like a dream of mine is to one day click down on the little drop down menu and live events technician, or
Yeah.
whatever the title might be, will actually be there. And that's what I believe is like true representation and understanding of what we do. And like, so the South African events industry, like I think it contributes like something like 161 billion rand to the economy, the tourism sector. It's a massive driver in our economy. But yeah, anyway, that's we can probably have like a 2-day conversation about.
Yeah, we can get very dark and gloomy.
Yeah,
These things.
yeah, yeah, dark or ambitious.
Yeah. So wait, we have these experts, the Andres, the
Yeah.
Vernons, etc., who are to a large degree all self-taught. They figure things out on their own. They have mentors and guys that help them along their way, and it's not something that they've done by themselves. But very rarely it happens through any sort of studies. What skill set do you think is the most valuable skill set for newbies coming into the industry that they won't find in their textbooks?
I think I think about two actually. One is curiosity, obviously. Just digging deeper in the field and becoming an expert at your own, at your own pace, if I can put it that way. But then also just agility. Um, I think that all of us have been in that situation where like last minute changes 10 minutes before the doors open, and you've cooked up this brilliant idea and everything is beautiful, and you've like drawn out the cable runs and everything is color coded, and then something happens. So I think the ability to not get too comfortable with ideas you cooked up, um, being able to pull a rabbit, being the little Swiss Army knife, and yeah, being adaptable, prepare for scenarios and pack a few spares.
You talk about being a Swiss Army knife. Being a Swiss Army knife is scary because people will expect things from you. They think you're gonna pull the rabbit out of the hat. So how do you end up handling the pressure when everyone is suddenly looking at you for all these answers?
Concerta and stresse.
Yeah, baby. Urban.
No, I'm kidding. The drugs. Look,
Sorry, you're
I think
giving me flashback here on
what do you always say? Neural pathways.
I was sick 1 year and I was booked off, and so the doctor gave me meds. So I wake up in the morning, I'm like, dying, and I drink my meds and I go back to bed, and my phone rings, and I answer, and it's the office, and they're like, dude, we have a client meeting, you have to come in. And I'm like, bro, I'm sick, I'm booked off, like I can't. And they're like, dude, like you have to come in for this meeting. So I'm like, okay, cool, sweet, go shower, get dressed. I get into the car, and I'm like, yo, I feel strange, man. And I'm on the highway, and the car's like doing like this pull effect, and I'm like, "Oh, what the hell is happening?" So I walk into the office, and we have this joke. Do you know what is a lymph? A lymph? No, not a lymph. No, I can't remember. Yeah, is it lymph? Yeah, a lymph is walking with a lisp. There we go. So I walk in, and everyone is like, "He brought the lymph." He's like fucking walking with a lisp. And I sit there and I'm like, and they're like, bro, we need to go home. So I'm like, I agree. Now I'm back in the car properly.
Hate to say it, but I told you so.
Driving back home, and then when I got home and I looked at the medicine, it was codeine. It's like I'm like tripping on the highway, coming in and
Mixed
like
like like tripping on lean. I think that's what they called it.
don't do drugs, kids. Don't do
No,
drugs.
no,
Drugs
no.
bad. So without drugs, honest, what would you say?
I think that like just knowing and understanding that you don't have to have all the answers right in that moment. Um, Obviously there's moments where you, like, if you are operating an event, you have to then kind of like go back to that like core experience, the muscle memory and stuff like that,
Yeah.
stuff that can get you out of trouble in the moment. But that's not the solution. That's a little tactic you can use. I think that like understanding that most high stakes decisions you need to make are, there's some grace built into them for you to actually go and find the real answer. And then from my perspective is like we've got an exceptionally strong team that I can rely on, that
Mm.
can help me through situations. I mean, it's happened 3 times today already where I've been required to make a decision, but I didn't feel confident enough to just like sit and go like, 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
It was discussion with people you trust. And yeah, I mean, like that's probably the main thing for me is like learning that regardless of what your title is or regardless of what your role is, most likely the part of the problem that you're trying to solve has got multiple facets, and there's experts in those facets that you can rely on. So
Mm.
go and speak to the people you trust and come up with proper solutions. You and I always speak about the 131. Someone comes to your office with the problem. What's the problem? What's the three possible solutions? And then you decide based on that. Like either one of them are going to be is going to be great or
Yeah.
like sufficient, or a combination, or it's going to force you to think outside the box, and then you brainstorm. Yeah.
Mm. So, in between all the pressure of life in the events industry and the 3 o'clock in the morning loadouts, sitting on truss in the rain, hating your life, uh, we all
Eating
have
a cheese griller that looks like it's a Malta yacht owner.
exactly. We all have this moment where we're like, you know what? I should have made better choices in life. If you couldn't work in events, what would you choose and why?
No judges, right?
Can't promise that, dude. Can't promise.
I should have known better. I wanted to be a dentist, of all things. Yeah, I wanted to go into the medical field. Um, and then I realized quickly that I had to go and get math literacy. um,
Was more
I blame the
important.
public school system for that, by the way.
You work with your hands, bro. You work with your hands.
Happy. But like if I had to choose now based on like passion and not skill necessarily, I reckon that I would like to have been like a high-end chef. Yes, man. Flip and love it. Like
So,
really digging in and like
uh,
the joy, dude, the joy you get from like serving something to someone and like you made it and you can see them. I mean, food is like a basic need. And like you can actually like create a basic need, like turn a basic need into something that like actually people talk about later on. Love it.
so such a cliche answer with your pizza oven at home.
Listen,
Nah,
I experimented on you and it didn't turn out too bad.
Fanie makes some of the freaking best food ever. Like I love your cooking, Fanie. So I'll support your change in career when that day finally rolls around and you're like, yo, I'm gonna feed people. So
Well,
what
I
do
just want to say, like, I'm the designated briar here at the office if we do. So, but that's only like Vorsel, so it doesn't really count.
yeah, and hopefully it's a little bit better than the Wild Bean Cafe Vorsies. So what do you wish someone had told you before you joined our wonderful industry?
um, Not to neglect the people you love and who love you to chase the tech dream. Um, I think that we are a highly passionate bunch, and especially like the way that you get into the industry, you get bombarded with like, this is the way we do things. Flipping hours are long, expectations are super high, and the thing comes far and few in between that you kind of like get indoctrinated by chasing this technical crazed dream.
Yeah.
And the industry also glamorizes, or at least like it's changing, and I'm quite proud of the fact that you and I value, like we instill family values in the business and you like force people to take leave and so forth. But for the longest time, the industry glamorized that like single-minded craze and give don't budge on your job execution no matter what. So all of us have missed family gatherings and funerals and lost relationships, so forth. So I think that value the people around you and prioritize them. And I like in 2017 when I left 2018 when I left permanent employment to freelance, the single reason was that I met the woman that I was going to marry, and I realized that there was no way that I'd be
Mm.
able to sustain being accountable to anyone else besides what I'm willing to put in and, have this relationship.
Yeah.
And it was a very hard decision because it was something that like I was single-mindedly passionate about. And to choose that was difficult, but in retrospect, best decision I ever made. Yeah.
What's one piece of advice for someone that's entering the industry as a newbie?
I've had the privilege of mentoring like two or three young people now. And one of the conditions I tell them is that while excuse me while I introduce you to the industry and like introduce you and give you experience and ensure that like people know about you, and first of all you need to commit the fact that you're actually going to take this seriously, because you are putting your name alongside someone. The
Mm.
second big thing is that you're going to qualify yourself with a skill outside of the industry, and that's going to be valuable 10 years from now, because like you're young. We all know, you and I understand that like when that technical craze bites, it's relentless. So yes, you'll get experience and all that kind of stuff, but prepare yourself for the day where you are 30 years old and you've been doing this for 10 or 12 years and you're questioning your life decisions because it's 3 o'clock in the morning, it's raining, and you're loading a truck. When you decide or actually when you need to make the decision whether this is something that you're going to see through or whether you are going to jump ship and go for a more traditional job, you are not unskilled. And I think the big reason by that is not because I want to chase people out of the industry or something like that. Is I want young people in the industry that is there because they love and have a deep passion for it and they're not stuck in it. I was lucky enough to find studies much later on and get opportunities much later on in my career. And I'm extremely thankful for the choices that I made and where I am right now. I'm thankful for the fact that I can still be in the industry and now support people and build an environment around people that is conducive to a balanced life as much as is possible within our industry.
I had this thought now, like when you were talking about it, you never know what skill set is going to be valuable if there's some unexpected catalyst popping in. Um, 2020 was actually the perfect example for how many people pivoted to different things.
Yeah.
I was the general manager at Multimedia Express, like full on tech job. But year around 2014, I started video editing, started making YouTube videos. And then when COVID happened, suddenly I was comfortable to talk on camera. I was comfortable editing videos. I was comfortable building content for people, and I was able to create an environment that made people feel safe because they were outside of their comfort zone. And it's such a surprising thing just thinking about it. Like, it was such a pointless little hobby on the side, making things that ultimately became like a very important thing that
So
shot keep into the limelight.
I would actually want to interject here because, like, I don't think many people will know this, but Enrico had a stint where he was YouTube famous. You had like 120,000 followers.
Yeah.
Your videos getting like million plus views, sponsorships, getting stopped in the street, and then Butti got too controversial and he had to delete his channel. No, I'm kidding. It wasn't that bad. But like you did, just touch on that, please.
Yeah, so obviously, like growing up in this new generation and being exposed to YouTubers, you're like, oh, I also want to do this. Like, and it's never about making any sort of money from it. It's more about having fun and having a creative outlet. Um, like you mentioned earlier, like you started out as a musician within we started out as a muso, and it's like kind of led you into this industry. And
Mm.
for a lot of us in the industry, we all start with this musician thing. You start playing guitar or drums or bass or whatever in school, and you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna be a muso," and then you end up at Audio Tech or Ivy Tech or whatever. Uh, then I was at a festival, busy doing a turnaround for one of the productions, and when the audience was out, I went to FOH and I played "Be Prepared" from Lion King. So I'm like full blown performing there on the right while we were waiting to do this turnaround, and a director walked in. I can't remember who it was. And he looks at me like all in judgment, like looking up and down, and he's like, "You dicks are closet performers, eh?" I was like, you have these creative things that you want to do that's like this big driver. And then when I started like thinking about YouTube, I was like, oh man, like this is such a fun creative outlet to do something different within your own control. It doesn't really bother anyone. It's not like playing music inside your bedroom flat and the neighbors are complaining. So I started making these videos. And at one point, I started making Afrikaans videos and they just exploded. But they were all about mocking things in South Africa and then contradicting myself at the end so that you can kind of realize I'm the problem. But people became so angry in like the first minute of the video that I
Like
had
rage baited them into watching your stuff.
right. And but it was hilarious. Like we laughed so hard. And at some point I made a video about the South African police service, and the ground police started saying if they find me they're going to pull me over and I'm just going to disappear. And then the helicopter dudes of the police started fighting with the ground police on my in my comment section. And it reached the point where myself and some of the senior guys that I was working with were like, yeah, it was a fun ride, but like I'm growing up now. I'm getting more responsibility. Like there's no need to die before 27 because of a stupid YouTube video. And then I just like kind of stopped doing it. But it was a wild ride, it was crazy. My beard was sponsored, like yeah, different times. But it was great. But yeah,
Oh,
it's
that's awesome.
important to have that skill set that is just like just protect yourself because you never know um, what might happen. So, Fawning, as we start to wrap this session up, if you could go back 10 years in time and meet uh, a younger Plugstrip Pieterse, what would you say to him?
Um, I reckon study, learn things that it's going to be useful to you in 10 years. Like become relentless about knowledge. Don't compromise on excellence. Don't compromise on your integrity,
Mm.
and read more. Like I think that's one thing that changed a lot for me is like that, like consumption of knowledge, which became like a bit of a passion. And then prioritize people who love you and who you love, because at the end of the day, when COVID hit, you were stuck in a flat with your loved ones, and if that relationship is shoddy, then it's not a good place to be.
Oh, COVID. So we that those
Did I just like neural pathway you again?
it was so hilarious. Those first 2 weeks, I was like constantly calling clients. I'm like, hey man, are we going virtual? What can we do? And then, like, at some point, the defeat just set in completely. And for like all the weeks thereafter, until we finally opened up, I grew a massive beard, and I was playing Euro Truck Simulator on my laptop, just trying to drive. And Anika, my wife, was she was watching TV, and I can hear like in the music on the in the scene on TV that she's crying, and I would just like sit there driving my truck, and I'd be like, "Are you crying?" And she'd be like, "Yeah." And I'm like, okay, cool, and just continue. It's like the weirdest time.
It's such a weird time, dude. It was such a weird time.
So,
Dude, at one point, I mowed our complex lawn for literally from cash.
so one of the
Weird.
one of the directors that I met just after we came out of lockdown, he told me this story where during lockdown he walked into his kitchen one morning to make coffee, and he's so emotional, and he's like, yeah, he's just gonna cry, just let it all out. And he goes, and nothing happens, and he's like, I'm completely emotionally broken, like there's nothing left for me here. But now
Oh.
time has passed, life has gone on, we're back to normal. So Fanie, wrapping up with some rapid questions for you. Early mornings or late nights?
Early mornings.
Perfection or momentum?
Perfection when it matters, momentum 99% of the time.
Big budgets or creative freedom?
They can sometimes play hand in hand, but I think creative freedom, giving the audiences a bit of a surprise and the client surprises, yeah.
Worst advice you ever received?
Lift with your back. I just want to add the guy who told me that had to go for surgery on his back, dude.
There's this meme that says how to avoid injury in the workplace, let someone else carry it. And then last, one word that describes the future of events.
This is a conversation we've had so many times. Audience connection, I think. Actually being intentional and not just like throwing tech at something because, you want to spend a budget. Understanding the client's needs and the audience requirements and creating change with the tools that we actually have.
It's funny how the question is one word and then you give an entire description. That's why we work with our hands. But funny, thank you very much for your time today. It was much appreciated. If people want to reach out to you, if they want to connect with you, where can people find you?
Like socials, man. Reach out to me, LinkedIn, and then if you want to see photos of my cute baby, Instagram.
That is the weirdest thing. If you get followers there now, if you follow Vonnie there, we think you're weird. We think you're weird.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I've taken on like the dad role and I'm happy about it. I'm gonna buy myself a pair of white New Balances soon.
But Fani, thank you very much. I hope you have a wonderful day. I appreciate you joining me today. And for those viewers still sticking around, thank you for your time. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you had some laughs with our stories, and I hope that it motivates you to push through with dedication, commitment, and to ultimately make this industry a little bit better for everyone. Look after the newbies coming in and set them up for success to ultimately go out and change the world. Thank you and bye bye.